Yeah. So this is Steve, and I am now in Portland, Oregon's Burgerville, talking to you. And I realized that there's a couple things that I really need to catch up on. So one of which is that last week's video just died. It didn't do anything. It didn't go online or anything. So I'm going to do that. So that's going to be called The Stranger, and I'll do that in a few minutes. But before I did that, I wanted to follow up on the teaching of a couple weeks ago, right after we turned off the video a couple weeks ago in the video, God is Homeless. My wife, Diane, said, well, you know, actually, it's really interesting that God's presence, or the Shekinah, which was present in the temple when God as a cloud of his glory, which is Shekinah is Hebrew word for a particular word, kind of glory anyway. So when God's glory and his radiance and this cloud came down into the temple, that cloud already existed, she said. The cloud was there before the tabernacle. That you've got God's presence as the pillar of fire during the day, and the pillar of fire at night, cloud during the day, which is the same thing. The cloud looked like a fire at night, and the fire looked like a really bright, shiny cloud during the day. But both of them were God's glory. And she said, you notice that that was there before the tabernacle. And so that means that God's presence was already with them. It's just that when they heard the Ten Commandments, they heard the thunder, the voice of thunder and lightning and all of this horrendous booming sound, they were scared. And they said, hey, Moses, how about if you talk to God and we'll stay over here? And God said, okay, that's a fine idea. And it was after that, and it was after them setting up the golden calf that that God established the tabernacle. He figured, well, they need something to see. They need a presence that they can see, but something that isn't too scary. So he created the tabernacle. And this sets up a thing where yes, God's glory is sometimes connected with the tabernacle, and God's glory is sometimes connected with the temple. But the glory, the Shekinah, the cloud by day, the fire by night, the cloud that fills the temple, sometimes is connected with that temple, and then sometimes it's not. It's just like sometimes God decides to hang out in the tabernacle or the temple, but sometimes he doesn't. And so it's interesting. So when we're talking about God being homeless, we're saying God prefers to be homeless. He prefers not to be tied down. He prefers to be out and amongst the people. And that sometimes, because of the desires of the weaknesses of human beings, he will lock himself into a place. But after Jesus, then it became different. We read in Peter that God's people is seen as the temple. What I didn't say, though, is I didn't connect it back to Shekinah or glory or the fire and cloud thing. I didn't connect it back with that. So I just want to read really quickly something from Acts chapter 2. So when the day of Pentecost had come, which is the Feast of Tabernacles, after Jesus' death and resurrection. So when the Feast of Tabernacles had come, they were all together in one place, and suddenly there came from heaven a noise like a violent rushing wind. So this big, nasty, loud noise, just like the one that was in the Ten Commandments. And it was filled the whole house where they were sitting. And there appeared to them tongues as of fire distributing themselves, and they rested on each one of them, and they were all filled with the Holy Spirit. So what we've got here is we've got these guys, a whole bunch of people, 120 people, and it doesn't say that a cloud went and rested on them or that a fire went and filled the entire place. Instead, it was little pieces of the fire, and each one rested on each person. Each one went on the person, and then those people immediately went out and started talking to all the different. So they all ended up going to very different places, and by the middle of the book of Acts, they're all being distributed all over the world. And going, and they are pieces of God's glory going all over the place, pieces of God's temple. It all started in Jerusalem, but then that distributed out to different people. So once again, the point is that God's presence isn't interested in being locked up in a place and being locked up in a home. He wants to be out there. He wants to be amongst all the world. He doesn't want everyone to come to him. He wants to go to them. He wants to be homeless. He wants to be free to go to the needs where people are at, to go to the concerns that people have, and go like that. Anyway, I just wanted to do that little follow-up to God is Homeless. So this has been a short little thing. I'm going to go ahead and talk about The Stranger next, because it didn't get recorded last week. So anyway, just wanted to bring that up. May the Lord bless you and keep you and give you peace.